Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm Vandana Mohtore, your host for this episode of the podcast series brought to you by Industry Inspired Talks. I welcome you all to our channel. Talking about podcast series, it is a series where we invite people from the industry to share their industry experience, their real life experience with you all. Our guest for today's podcast is Mr. Akshay Gupta. A little about him. Mr. Akshay is a highly experienced engineer and businessman with an in depth knowledge of manufacturing cylinder liners, pistons, and engine valves, along with a strong network of small and large scale manufacturers and distributors of precision parts suitable for the automotive, agricultural, machinery, heavy duty construction, and industrial machinery. The interview consists of two parts. The first part is about Mr. Gupta's career journey, it was when he started his career to where he is now. We'll also learn about the challenges he faced and the mindset he needed to have. Part 2 covers more about the latest market trends in the automobile industry, a typical workday in the life of an entrepreneur, and practical tips from Mr. Akshay. So make sure you watch both the parts. We are sure this interview will help you in your career. So let's get right into it. Hello, Mr. Akshay Gupta. We welcome you to the podcast series brought to you by the Industry Inspire Talks. We are privileged to have you as our guest on our show today. So, how are you doing today?
Today's been great. I start off my day very well, the way I do every day. Start off with a morning workout and then straight away hit the office. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, we can see that you are, in your complete energy and that liveliness on your face with your smile.
Yeah. That's my morning dose of coffee. The whole workout that I do. That's what keeps me going through the day.
That's wonderful. And I'd like to mention again, to our viewers as well. I love the map. The colorful display of the map on your wall. It's very inspiring to walk into a room like that.
Yeah, that's my feel good wall. I love world maps and I love different forms of art. So I thought this is a good collaboration between art and the maps. And so yeah, that's how we selected this.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So without any further ado, let's begin with the interview. So how about you let all our viewers know what has been your journey like when you started your career to where you are at today.
Okay. So I've been an ordinary student through my school days, but I always had an inclination towards science and engineering, and I've accordingly I chose my whole career and my path based on my interests, not based on what's cool right now or what's in fashion. It was all decisions were taken based on my interests, and so I after school and high school I went on to do an engineering degree. I did my mechanical engineering in Bombay. And after that, I had joined the family business. We have a family business of engine parts. I was exposed to this business early on in life because my dad was a serious businessman. And he always encouraged us as in me and my sister, but my sister didn't take much interest, to visit the warehouse, visit the factory, visit the office in our holidays. And being an engineering student, I would find it pretty fascinating because I could see a connect between the real world and the the technical world, the teacher's world, or the school. Yes. And so it was pretty interesting. I was fortunate that my interests and our family business were pretty much in sync. That was the starting point. That was just the starting point for me to know what I'm going to be doing in the years to come. Now, what happened is after my engineering, I immediately joined the family business, and I was working there. But while I was working there was always this desire or this, I always felt something's missing in me. I wanted to, enhance my skill set because I felt that you need a good balance between technical and commercial. You need to be viable in both aspects. So that's when I said that, the only way that would that would really benefit me would be by doing an MBA. So that's when I actually started taking a lot of these entrance tests and narrowed down on doing an MBA. I landed up doing an MBA in ISB Hyderabad in the batch of 2010. So I finished my engineering in 2006. I worked for 3.5, 4 years, and then I went on to an MBA. Now, a lot of people said, no, why you jump into your family business? You should work outside, get experience, this is blah, blah, blah. But I had a completely different take because I knew that this is what interests me and this is what I want to do. So I didn't want to waste, pardon me for using this word, but I didn't want to spend my time, working elsewhere and doing something which doesn't really interest me. Just because people say you need to work outside, get industry experience. I didn't conquer to these kind of, thought processes. And I said, I know what, this is what I want to do. Let me go there and see what are the areas to improve, what I need to learn. And so in those 3 years or 4 years, I actually made notes and picked up on a lot of skill sets that I lacked, a lot of areas of improvement which I wanted to address. So that when I go into my MBA, I'm actually going there with some kind of a focus that, this is what I'm going to work on. These are the problem areas that I want to address. This is the advice I want from people. And accordingly, I channeled my entire, 1 year in ISB to ensure that I'm picking up skill sets which would help me become a more holistic entrepreneur, going forward. And I wanted to be fully equipped. So that's why for me that 1 year at ISB was actually life-changing because it transformed the person that I was before and after. Before I was kind of becoming a Me Too product of my father and, his brothers, etc. Because that's all that I saw. Sure. But when I went and did my MBA, it gave me a completely different perspective. I learned a lot. I learned soft skills, I learned technical skills, I learned commercial skills. So that's what happened. And of course, post ISB, then the next challenge was, okay, so now you've got all of these skills. Now you got to implement them. There's no point in getting all the gyan and getting all the wisdom, but you don't implement it, right? So that was the next challenge that these are all minor, maybe internal challenges. These are not external challenges, but still they're challenges. And that's where I see a lot of people falling apart. You hear a lot, you read a lot, you see a lot, but when are you going to implement it? So for me, I've always been a big, it's always been on my agenda to implement what I learned. If I, rather than just listening it from 1 year and removing it from another. So that's what happened. And, I joined the business again, but I kind of realized when I joined back that, maybe the path that I had in my head is not the same that what my family business is headed to. And, when there are too many decision makers and there are too many, power brokers or these kind of people, I kind of felt a little lost in all of this. So the good thing was I knew what I want to do. I had developed the skill set for it. And then it was for me to take that plunge. And when I say take that plunge is break away from the family business and start something off on your own. So that's what happened. Fast forward to 2016, towards the end of 16 is when I realized that, this is not working out for me. And it's pretty common in all family businesses, things fall apart. There's conflict of interest, blah, 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 and this, that. And I didn't want to be part of these petty games or, all of this. I was pretty clear that I had a path figured out in my head for me and I wanted to walk down that path. And I didn't want to blame anyone. And I also feel there's no excuses. You have to take ownership of all your choices, all your decisions. And actually my wife played an important role because she one day I remember told me, she said, listen, boss, you keep saying you want to do this, you keep saying you want to do that, but you're eventually doing what your father and his brother and all these people are doing. So why are you just frustrating yourself? Either you take the plunge or then you make peace with what is there. And that actually was a big wake-up call for me. And I said, fair enough. And it was a pretty instantaneous decision to then break off from this and start off on your own. So I finished in 2016. I exited the family business, and in 2017, I restarted my own company. I tried a few other things, to be very honest. When I'm saying different things, means related to my previous family business. When I was trying to do, there were tons of opportunities, and I tried to do some of those. Till I actually realized that that's still not giving me the satisfaction. It's not giving me, that fulfillment. And it's like my heart was in that business, which was our traditional family business. It's just that I didn't want to run it the way it was being run earlier. And so I kind of had this realization that, you can't make a carpenter a painter, and you can't make a painter a plumber. Okay. You're better off, sticking to your core competency, and then, working on it and making that your strength, or enhancing your strength on that front. So then we started this company, A-Track Engineering. And I actually had a reasonable blueprint as to how I would want my company to be. And when I'm saying how I would want my company to be, in terms of the way we do our business, the way we treat people, the kind of team we make, the kind of working atmosphere we have, the way we want our brand to be positioned, all of that. And this is something that I didn't have the liberty of when I was, in part of my family business. So we have a legacy brand called Arrow, and I didn't want to piggyback on that at all. I didn't want to piggyback on that legacy brand of Arrow. So I started my own brand called A-Track, and with a complete new identity, complete new product. Same product, but a complete new identity and a new pitch. Our pitch was completely different from what it used to be. And we entered markets on our own merit. We actually entered markets on our own merit. Of course, we used, the past experience that we have, the past market knowledge. But to convert an inquiry to an order, you still need to have, a bit of that edge, and to convince someone to now buy a new brand which is just launched in 2017 versus a brand Arrow which was there from 1970s and 1960s was a pretty daunting task. And I was up against stiff competition from my extended family only, where they went all guns blazing, trying to, claw me down and, restrict us. But so, of course, then I had different set of challenges of where, how I had to segregate between my personal problems with my family and my professional goals.
Wow.
And the choice I made was just to stick to your professional goals. Just kind of, as they say in Hindi, that you put those in English, you put those blinders, right? I just had to put those blinders and only focus on what my path was, or what was awaiting me. And on what my goals were and what I wanted to do, rather than what the other people are. And so that, having said that, it's been 4 years, and I'm fairly happy with the response we've got. We've grown to some extent bigger than what my previous family business was, which was run by stalwarts for so long. I think this year we've clocked sales, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of all the challenges, a lot more than what we used to do, back then. And now what we do is we've got a very good team. Some of my primary focus areas were on building a good team. So I always feel that is something which is the most important part. So even when I actually left my previous company and I started on my own, initially I didn't want to take people. People wanted to come and work with me because they thought they liked my ideas and all, but I didn't want to get into that kind of, mudslinging or muck schedule. So I wanted to start afresh. But there were 4 or 5 people who were my key, personnel, and they of course joined me when I started off my own company. And so we stuck to that, and so that's what it's been. And today we've been doing fairly well, and I have nothing to complain about.
That we can completely see from your body language that you're definitely not complaining. So wow, what an inspiring share, Mr. Gupta. There's so many takeaways from what you just shared. Most importantly, I'll just, for the sake of our audience as well, the first point that you mentioned, that you always knew what interested you. It wasn't like you were following the mob, that most people are doing this is what I need to do. Because a lot of us, we do get into that pressure that, everybody's doing their MBA right away after engineering. This is probably what I need to do. But becoming really aware of what interests you, and then no matter what others are doing, you followed what you wanted to do. That's number one.
It's a very important thing, like even when I was doing my engineering, people were, and of course, everyone comes from different backgrounds, right? So, but for me, it was purely the learning, because I knew that what I learned, nobody can take away from me.
Sure.
Okay. If I were just to do it to get a degree or to get this, people will read through you. People will see through you in a matter of time. And I knew that that's not what I want. I didn't want a degree to show someone. I didn't want, an MBA to show. Even in my MBA, the subjects I chose were very unorthodox compared to what all my contemporaries did. And I said, boss, I have whatever I'm going to do, I know I need to implement it, and I have got a business to create, build, or grow. Whichever was, at that time, I didn't know whether I'm going to be continuing my family business or start my own thing. But yeah, so like, everyone, like, for example, when I was doing engineering, everyone's like, computer IT. And I was like, and I went the old school and I took mechanical engineering, which was, a pretty unpopular choice at that point.
Especially because it was all filled with boys all the time.
Yeah. That was, but the silver lining in my engineering was that I met my wife over there. So we often, joke around that Rihanna was inspired by our story, where she wrote, "We found love in a hopeless place." My wife and me actually found each other in our engineering college.
That's amazing. That's a wonderful story indeed. Wow. Yeah, your destiny does take you where you need to be at the right time.
No, of course. And another thing is, like, I will tell you, like, my father played a very important role, in disciplining me. He was, of course, in my initial years, I do not like it, but he was a thorough disciplinarian, and, he ensured. And, like, he didn't give me slack at any point of time, At every point of time, he was looking out, what's this boy doing? Is he really focused on what he's doing? Like, there was, no, but, and of course, even the way he conducted himself, the way he did business. So before I went to ISB, I learned a lot from him. The way he would handle his people handling skills, his negotiation skills are phenomenal. I think that's something that maybe no business school can teach you.
Absolutely.
So the idea was that, and I always feel that, you never know from where you can learn. You can learn from everywhere. There's no such thing that you'll only learn in a school, or you'll only learn at home, or you'll only learn. Yes, you got to be receptive at every point of time, because you don't know kaun si cheez kab kaam mein aayegi. I'm sorry for my Hindi. I don't know your audience is English or Hindi, but I'm just saying that you don't know what works when and where. So yeah, coming back to your point, whatever you do it because it interests you. Don't do it because you want to fit in somewhere, or it's the norm. I don't mean to sound philosophical, because I don't believe in being philosophical, but I'm just sharing that, and then you will see doors open up, opportunities open up, because these are things no one can take from you. See, everything else people can take away you, but your skill set, your mind, your confidence, people can't take away from you.
Absolutely.
And a lot of this is built through your foundation years, through your education, through your mentorship, through a lot of this. So you got to then, after a certain point of time, believe in yourself, and just say that, hang on, things will fall into place. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's the first point that you were saying.
No, absolutely. Again, as we were discussing that first point, but there's so many more points that came out of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely self-awareness, becoming, aware of what interests you. And a lot of people don't know it at early stages. Many a times they're not connected to self as much. But then to continue doing what you can do in the best possible way, it leads you to what the next opportunity for you is. And other thing that you mentioned, in your share earlier, was that you had a plan. When you entered MBA, again, it was not just to get a degree, like just have this MBA done, but you knew what is it that you want to learn? And just what you mentioned, that in those 4 years that you worked in your father's company, you were mindful of what do I need to pick, where am I good at, where am I not good at, what else do I need to learn, what am I learning and what else I can get from elsewhere. And then pursuing your MBA with that intent just completely changes how you show up even for the MBA course, because you're going to gain so much more with all that clarity.
Absolutely. And that's important. But some people are lucky that they have the clarity, some people don't have it. So, but even if you don't have it, there's no big deal. You just got to ride along, something will click somewhere,
It all comes down to the core values, as you said, what is laid out in your foundation years and how aptly do you follow them? Because our environment matters the most. Who have we surrounded ourselves with? And that open mindset, when you mentioned that everything is a learning opportunity. What can I learn from you? That having that mindset and not thinking that I know more than you, I'm better. Having that mindset that I can learn from you, and what can I learn from you and what can I implement? Because understanding is one thing and implementing it is completely another. So we learn more from the implementation than we learn from just reading about it. And to add on, the best share was that you need the right kind of people to push you forward. In your case, your wife was there to ask you those questions. We need those people in our life. So it's again our responsibility to have those people in our life to push us forward. So thank you.
Yeah, you need to find people and you need to identify. If not find, you just need to identify the right people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So moving on to the next question. The manufacturing of automobile parts, it's still a pretty unorganized field industry in India. So when you decided to create a niche business in it, although you do have a family business in it as well, but I'm sure it took a lot of collaboration with a lot of people. So how did you work on that? How did you work on getting that kind of a support in the industry?
So that takes me back to, some of the skills that I developed, through my father of people skills, right? On how to handle people, because that's a daunting task. Everyone doesn't come from the same background as you. So everyone doesn't think like you. Everyone doesn't behave like you. So, you got to learn to accept people the way they are. You got to understand that everyone has their own journey. Everyone's behaving or reacting in a certain manner. You got to think, why is that person behaving? Okay, so a lot these are things which play an important role in you being able to do business with others. So what happens is, while we manufacture, we also trade. Okay, because our product portfolio, and that's where that's where I differentiate. We differentiate ATRAC from my family business, because they were just doing trading and it was a very ad hoc, very unorganized manner. So what we said, no, we're gonna fix on some, we call them hero products, which we manufacture, and then we supplement that with products that we trade. So now when you trade, you're dependent on external manufacturers and you need them to conform with your quality standards. And what we observed that this is pretty unorganized. People purely interested in making a sale. They don't care about they're not looking 2 steps forward. All that they're concerned is order mila, paisa mila, mal diya. But what we do know, we get every product, we do a full quality control, a check, test them, then we brand them. So we don't sell any product which we don't brand. Now the purpose behind branding is to give the customer or signal to the customer that we're confident of the product we're selling. So tomorrow if there's a claim or tomorrow issue, okay, we're right standing behind it. We're not going to be putting our hands up. And that is something which you don't find a lot of Indian companies do it. But you have a lot of German companies do it and a lot of American and British companies do it. And that's where I took this inspiration and I said, listen, and I saw that a lot of them were doing it by sourcing products out of India. So I said, they can do that. Why can't we do that sitting in India? And so that was the initial inspiration of, organizing this sector or this segment and selling products in your brand. And so we kind of created systems in our company where even if we don't manufacture, even if we're outsourcing, the vendors conforming to our quality parameters and standards. We understand the limitations of the vendor. We understand the background of the vendor. And we have to formulate our in accordance to that.
Mm.
So that's what we did, and then we slowly, because you see, we have at the same time we have to be very careful. The minute you put your brand on a product, okay, you're liable for everything that comes under that brand. So even if my hero products are doing well, but my traded products are not doing well, my hero products will take a hit. The reputation of my hero products. So, and in the engine parts business, all parts are interlinked. Engine is like, you could say it's like a human body, you know, every part. So you've got various parts and every part is interlinked. So you can't give a good quality product, let's say cylinder liner, but an inferior piston or an inferior water pump. Everything has to be in sync. So it's a pretty exciting business if you get the pulse of the business, which I was fortunately exposed to very early in my life, and I actually kind of got a pulse of it. Now the whole thing was, how can you professionalize it? And that's where I feel that my engineering, my MBA, and a lot of these things helped me to identify ways of professionalizing this whole business. So that's what we did, and then we were able to identify different segments. You know, you have because an engine is used across the board. It's used in automobiles, it's used in tractors, it's used in trucks, it's used in generators, it's used in excavators. And so that's where some of my, I would say, MBA knowledge came to use, where, you know, a lot of the marketing courses that I did helped me to segment the market, frame my pitch accordingly based on different segments, and, create a more holistic brand. So that's what we've been doing.
Thank you for sharing that again. It's quality over quantity is what I understand.
Always, yeah.
Wonderful. So one last question in this segment, you know, for all those viewers who are wanting to start on their entrepreneurial journey, you know, you were a part of a business already, but that was a different role for you. So what was a key mindset strategy for you when you had to step into your own, like creating your own business, like starting as an entrepreneur on your own?
See, when you're starting on your own, right, a lot of it's not that straightforward. I can't say there's any one thing, but there were multiple things. You know, one thing I feel okay, and that is that whatever you do, if you're running a business, you have to make money. I somehow come from that school of thought. Whatever social service or well-being you're doing is all great, but it should generate money, because when you generate money is when you're going to generate employment, and when you generate employment is where your team grows bigger. There are more opportunities. So I somehow, another thing which I don't conform to, and a lot of my colleagues, they all talk about valuations and they talk about XYZ and this and that. And I somehow don't understand this whole valuation game, because I'm only concerned, is the company really making money? Because when I were to start my business, and when I wanted to do all of this, I wanted to make sure that whatever business I do, okay, there has to be the company has to be self-sufficient. So while I had the option of taking finance from my dad and etc., I avoided that as much as possible. Okay, because my idea was that let's create something which can be self-sufficient. And so I would tell any entrepreneur that do a business or come up with an idea where your goal is not customer acquisition. Your goal is these should not be your goals. I mean, your goals should be you're creating a good product, a product or a service which should speak for itself. And at the same time, there should be a certain value addition from your end, so that in the long run you have a good enough profit for the ball to keep rolling. Otherwise, what happens is you keep pumping in money for more and more, but there's no real bottom line. So for me, I find the bottom line a lot more interesting than the top line. I don't really care about turnovers. I don't care about valuations. People talk about 100 crore company, 500 crore company. It doesn't make any sense if it's a debt-ridden company, if it's low profit, high expense. These things really don't excite me. So one is that you got to have a reasonably good business plan when you want to get into when you want to start your business. And the second thing is you have to work on certain soft skills. You should, if you don't have it, like, I'll be very honest, I didn't have the best of soft skills when I started off, and it was a learning process for me. One I could name was, for example, I was very reactive. I would react to anyone. I would find the need to immediately respond to anything. Maybe someone, edging you, someone doing thing which is not as per your. And then I realized that that's not the smartest way to do it. You got to accept, or you got to take certain things in your stride and learn to ignore, and still maintain your peace and sanctity. So that was one thing which for me was a soft skill which I didn't have. Another thing was also with how you deal with your team members, right? So I initially used to have a very authoritarian way of going about it, and where it was my way or highway. And I'll be even honest, I even had a bit of a superiority complex where I felt that I knew more than the other person. And it was moments of realization where I felt that no, Akshay, it could be these guys, they may know, you may think you know it all, but they also have a certain amount of experience, and you got to be open to it. And it comes from, like, my salesperson, who was my export manager now, and I would travel with him, and I felt that I had better skills of communicating with the customer and convincing him to buy from me. But Manish is his name, and he did a much better job than me. And I was very impressed, and I actually took a backseat, and I played second fiddle to him. And I was actually feeling so good about it, because that increased his confidence in me, in the business, and all of this. And so you got to develop these, you got to have, this is the second aspect of soft skills that I'm talking about, how you handle people, how you deal with people. Another thing is also, when you run your business, you have to always keep the bigger picture in mind. There will be so many things which will come and bog you down. Small, simple examples like employees deceiving you, your landlord troubling you, vendors double crossing you. These are all part and parcel. But you got to see that, you want yourself to be a larger entity than them. Okay. And even if they did it, doesn't mean that you got to respond and react and go after them. Like, these are things that I faced a lot, initially. And initially I used to really get very upset about it. I used to react. Then I realized, and actually one of my friends told me about this, that listen, you're an organization. That person's a single person. An organization is always bigger than a single person. Okay. In a lot of cases. And you can't stoop down to his level. You have to be where you are and take it within your stride, and then create a system or a scenario where you make yourself. So another thing is, you make yourself so powerful that nothing really perturbs you. And make yourself powerful in these ways. Enhance your skill sets, hone your skill sets, do that, and you'll see over a period of time that a lot of these things which we earlier used to think are very big things, they become really trivial. In the larger scheme of things, they become really trivial. So that is what my endeavor is, that on a constantly improve myself, make myself so strong that I find a lot of these other things inconsequential. And so coming back to your point of when you want to be an entrepreneur, have a good plan where you're making money, or where the business will make money, in a clean manner. Okay, as much as possible, because that's where you're going to have the long run. If you're making big bucks in short stints, I don't know how sustainable they are. I'm not going to comment. I don't know, but that I don't know how sustainable those businesses are. But if you have where you have a reasonable growth, and at the same time you have a reasonable approach towards the people involved in your business, I think you have a long way to go. I mean, all of us have a long way.
Thank you again. What a wonderful share. It's all about adding value, and you get value for adding value. So make yourself so valuable. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that. And another great point that you brought was, take that responsibility on yourself. It's all about you. It's not about what others do. It's all about what you do and how you shield yourself as you grow. So thank you. Thank you for that great tip. And I'm sure all our entrepreneurs out there have learned a lot from it. Now moving on to the next segment of That brings us to the end of part one. If you enjoyed watching part one, felt inspired, learned new things, please hit the like button. Also, subscribe to our channel for more such interviews from people from the industry who are here to share their inspiring journeys and their real life experiences with you all. Now, here's an update about part two. It will be available on our channel on Friday. Make sure to check it out for great learnings from Mr. Akshay. Thank you all for your engagement and participation. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep inspiring others. Wishing you all the very best for your industry career ahead. Thank you.